Hey Kenton, this is Michelle Lavis, and I wanted to put a special video out just about the John Cross presentation at City Council. Kind of what he's doing, how much he's getting paid, what the goals are that we're going to see, hopefully from his work with Kenton over this next year. But first off, I wanted to share with you some things that I've been learning about Kenton, because I hear a lot of complaints. I have a lot of complaints that it's like, why aren't things getting done? Why do we pay so much tax? And, we constantly kind of are seeing, things are being crunched. And there's, seems like nobody's out, what are we getting for our money? And so it really is coming down to just plain old numbers, right? So we've got 8,000 people in Kenton. 30% of them are retired, so about 2,400. We have 38% of this number, which is right around 3,000, are people who could be paying in to proper or into income tax that don't, and whether they're unemployed, or they're on welfare, or for whatever reason they are not paying in income. And then 32% are the final people who are actually bearing the burden of supporting the government in Kenton. And so that's about 2,500 people. So you've got 3,000 people who could be paying in that don't. Meanwhile, half of that, you've lost a whole half of that available income, and 2,500 people are bearing that burden. And so what is the burden? The monthly revenue report they put out at their city council meetings, right? We can see $673,000 is paid in. It's a 1.5% profit tax from businesses like graphic packaging. There are a lot of businesses that are out on that 68 south that they have hydrants, they have sewer, they have water, and yes, they pay for their utilities, but they're not actually paying, they're not incorporated into the city of Kenton, and so we are missing that 1.5%, which is a huge deal. And so we're paying for the water plant, we're paying to maintain the city, and these people are getting utilities and they're not paying their fair share. And so that was a kind of a handshake deal that happened years and years ago. When they put that in, they should have been incorporated when they put the utilities in there, and that did not get done. It needs to be rectified so that we are sharing the burden appropriately. So that's kind of a big deal. And then collectively we have a 1.5% income tax, which brings in $3,974,526. If you divide that by your 2,500, people who are the 32% that are paying in, you're looking at $1,500 per person, right? If you just divide it, across the board, and that's a huge chunk, right? And that $1,500 per income is covering the almost 70% of the people. So we're paying for everybody to have fire, everybody to have Kenton police, everybody to have the water department and the court systems and all those things. That money is going to support that, but those services are being distributed to everybody, and so it is a huge burden. It is something that we need industry to come in, we need more housing to come in, we maybe even need some of that 3,000 people that aren't paying in to now start paying in, so that that revenue can kind of come up and up and up and help carry that burden. So this is kind of the situation that Kenton finds itself in. We also have failing infrastructure. Our buildings are in disrepair, and I know Lynn and Cindy have worked really hard to get funding, and the whole downtown sewer and water lines, the roads being all done, is an EPA mandate. The EPA comes in, they say, hey, you haven't painted your water tower, you haven't updated your sewer, and if you don't, they warn you so many times, and then if you don't do it, right, then they're going to fine you. And so we were getting fines over and over and over again for projects that weren't being completed because nobody wanted to put the effort towards doing that. And so they have gone after grant money. I know a huge portion of the project downtown is paid for. We are not bearing the huge burden of that project, and yet we're going to reap the benefits. Even now, having the capacity to have water and having the outside look nice, it does draw outside investors to invest in the downtown buildings. And there's one over there by just down from Jitters that has been purchased, right, and they're gutting it. And so we know that it makes a difference, and hopefully we will reap those benefits of more jobs, more interest. If we get more resources in Kenton, then more people will want to come and participate in our lovely little town. So we just have a very big discrepancy in who all is carrying the burden for the budget in Kenton. And so that's the hard facts of the matter. How does John play into this? It's, John Cross, he, was our state rep for several terms. He knows our area. He has all the background. He knows the ins and outs of how politics work, right? And so, whether you like John or you don't like John is not really the issue, right? We obviously have shown you that we don't have the revenue coming in that's needed just to sustain our government at all, right? We're constantly coming up against cutting budgets, right? And so having somebody advocate on behalf of Kenton is an invaluable resource. So I know Mayor Lynn has contracted him as he's a subcontractor. He's getting $1,000 a month, which for his services that he is offering is really not much at all. And I think that if he's able to accomplish finding us some grant money, you're talking, these grants are in the millions. And so if he's able to bring some of that into Kenton to help continue the downtown, right? So we've done Maine, and we're working on Detroit, and Lynn and Cindy have, once the downtown is done, and then they're going to go up to North Detroit and then out to the city limits. We've got projects that are going out to Walmart and down the by Grove Cemetery, and so they have plans that they're already going to meetings about grants for 2030, right? And it's a lot of work. If you know about grants, you know that it's just a lot of details. It's a lot of things that you have to, work your way through in order to be eligible. And if you are eligible, then you still have to sell your idea and sell, why it should come to you. And so, John is a subcontractor who is willing to continue to help out Hardin County. And just like when he brought the $500,000 for the fairgrounds, which I know is very controversial, and I don't mind him using his money, to come to the fairgrounds. It's just a little bit hard to swallow when we had to pay in our $500 for the ARPA money to the fairgrounds alongside of it. And so but what he did when he was a state rep in getting budgeted items or earmarked monies to come to Hardin County, whether you like it or not, right? He did do that. And so it's the same sort of thing of what he's going to do. Now he's just not an elected official. He is actually a registered lobbyist. And so he has to keep a record of who he talks to. And, there's certain rules as a lobbyist that you have to follow. And so we can find those, we can track those down, to kind of keep track of maybe what's going on. I don't know if they have to designate it out for our particular town or not, but I guess I'll find out when we get there. But he has rules that he has to follow as a lobbyist, and and so basically he's going to go down to, can work on the executive and legislative down at the state, and working through like the EPA, the Department of Development and Transportation, and maybe even housing departments are kind of his focus. When I was talking with him after the meeting, he was saying that sometimes you don't even know that there are grants available, right? If you don't have boots on the ground, you don't have somebody who's there, looking for you and advocating, and you got to know the right person. This is politics, whether you like it or not, which I don't like. I'm not a big fan of politics. I think, the whole system is very complicated, and I would like to see something happen that makes this all much simpler. But in our current situation, this is what we have. And so he knows people. He has contacts down there. And so using those contacts to be able to go in and say, oh, look, here's these grants available, and this is why you should choose Kenton, and kind of being that middleman advocate for our projects, and then keeping an eye out for opportunities that they can say, hey, you can do this in Kenton, and bring development that way. So if we want to continue to see progress, like we need to continue to go out Franklin and Columbus streets. And so if we want to continue to see the downtown progress, it's a hard job to keep looking for money when it's not your full-time job. It's a full-time job just keeping the water mains from breaking everywhere, and cleaning up the messes and keeping the trucks out of the no-go zone in the construction. And so having somebody like John who's willing to, for a small price, go and advocate for us, is kind of a big deal. Like I said, it's not my favorite thing, but at the end of the day, how are we going to get, I don't want to pay for another project that needs done. I don't want to have that burden cut on me. We have enough burden. And so, grant money is how you're going to get these things done. He talked about 5 things that are his goal, right? So community downtown revitalization is a grant that's out there that you can get. I don't know the details of any of these, but I wonder if that's why they have the Revitalize Downtown committee to qualify for this grant, right? Because you have all these rules that you have to follow. There's other grants for Jobs Ohio that he can look into. The public works grants are a big one. The city sat down and came up with $40 million of infrastructure that's needed, right? Like our water plant is in a floodplain. If it floods and it contaminates our clean wells, that's a big deal. That's a horrible situation. And our water plant needs updated. It needs to be brought up to code, higher standards, but that's going to take a chunk of money, and that's only going to last so long. And then we really just need to build a new plant somewhere else. And where are you going to plant that, or build that? Our sewer systems are going to need work on, and just infrastructure everywhere. And so I'll be looking into, what that 40,000 or $40 million, what they're projecting that to be. But we're going to need help securing some public utility money for that. And a lot we'll have to go through like Rob McCauley and some other legislators to help us with that. There's a huge push for regionalization and, bringing more people into Kenton. That's on the outside, or maybe even Forest and Patterson, get together and have a regionalized sewer water system. And so, what is that going to look like, and how can we build a sustainability into Hardin County long term, and how are you going to pay for it? So that's a big deal. And then lastly, the housing development. So there's $100 million in the budget for rural housing, and we have the new school being built, and there's farmland around it, and so maybe getting some housing developments to be around the school. Housing brings in incomes, which is going to raise our revenue, which is going to help spread out the financial burden again, right? It's all about, making it, if we all share it, it's a little bit easier, where right now a small portion is taking the brunt of it. And then the last thing is just economic development, him, being out and hearing of opportunities, or people coming to him and saying, hey, I'm looking for a certain thing, maybe land or whatever, and he can say, oh, hey, feed that back to the Business Chamber and Alliance and work with them to really complement bringing the businesses in. So that's the goal. Again, this is a year contract. It can be 30 days notice is all that you need. So if something isn't working out, it's not, you're not paying for a whole year. It's month by month that he can adjust that. So is it good, is it bad? It doesn't really matter. I would personally like to see Kenton continue with the infrastructure, continue with the sidewalks, and bring change and bring something to the table. And to do that, we need grant money. And if John's willing to help out, then that's all the better. So I hope this helps. I don't know if you have any questions, let me know, and we will talk to you later. Okay.